بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا، يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر، أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا، يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى، أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا، يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي، أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا، يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد، أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا، يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي، أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وسيء الحسن والخلف الحجة، أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي، يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. حاجات. يا سادتي وموالي، إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله، وتوسلت بكم إلى الله، واستشفعت بكم إلى الله، فاشفعوا لي عند الله، واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله، فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله، وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله، فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله، صلى الله عليهم أجمعين، ولعن الله أعداء الله الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين، آمين رب العالمين.
صلوات. يا ربي هاك زهرا توفीक ये अता हो मरने से पहले यार दीदार करबला हो या रब्बी हक ज़हरा مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہوں. جو عرض کربلا ہے ہر عرض سے سوا ہے. اس خاک کربلا میں شیخ کا لہو ملا ہے. ہر لا دوا مرض کی یہ خاک ہی دوا ہو. مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو. مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. میں بھی تو ماتمی ہوں ذاکر حسین کا نوحہ پڑھا ہے میں نے. ہم شکل مصطفیٰ کا اس ذاکری کے میری قسمت میں یہ سلا ہو. مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو. مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. مظلومیات پہ جس کی روتا ہے یہ زمانہ اس بے خطا کے در پر ایک بار تو ہے جانا. چوکر سے لہو پر وہ اس طرح ادا ہو. مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو. مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. وہ سرزمین جہاں پر گونجی اذان اکبر تسبیح آنسو کی پڑھنی ہے اس زمین پر. ایک سجدہ عقیدت اس خاک پر ادا ہو. مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو. پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو. یا رب Ya Rabbi Haq Zahra, तौफीक ये अता हो, मरने से पहले यार दीदार करबला हो। सलवात।
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. This poem is about when Amir al-Mu'mineen was passing away, and when he called Abu al-Fadl Abbas sallallahu alayhi to his side and explained what was going to happen in Karbala. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ali calls Abbas, come to me, my son. Ali calls Abbas, come to me, my son. But comforting Hussein is Ali's son. Ali says, come alone, leave your brother. He replies, how can I leave my master? A teardrop forms on Ali's blessed eye. I need to tell you of the day you will die. Abbas's eyes widen and he looks at Hussein. He runs to his father, blood frozen in his veins. Oh father, nobody can cause me any pain. Just tell me I'll die before my master Hussein. Abbas beside his bed kneels to listen. The story of Karbala is mentioned. Ali begins by asking a question, one that leaves his son in tension. Hussein's attacked. What is your reaction? Hussein's attacked. What is your reaction, O father? My blood is his protection. Ali with a smile thanks his Lord in pain. But Abbas tense, a tight grip of his sword, maintains, I'm ready if ever comes from him a complaint. Just tell me I'll die before my master Hussein. Weakness overcomes the father of dust. Watching father and son, the moon is crushed. Wails of children by Abbas are hushed. The moon its brightness to Abbas entrusts. Ali strengthless now whispers to his trust. O son, to yourself always be just. You're the son of Ali and never forget this name. You're the son of Ali and never forget this name. He's Muhammad's son. For his protection you came. While there's air in my lungs, by his feet I'll remain. Just tell me I'll die before my master Hussein. You're the hands of Ali as now I leave. He says, you're the hands of Ali as now I leave. Stay by Hussein like stays by your hand, your sleeve. You'll watch Fatima's children be deceived, and you'll find yourself in front of disbelief. A choice you'll have, your sword to unsheathe and to slaughter all those who Hussein aggrieve. But your master will implore, your anger contain. Like I have been patient, yourself you must restrain. Like you, O father, I respect what Allah ordains. Just tell me I'll die before my master Hussein. You are used to battles, hero in Siffin. In your body the blood of Haydar streams. When again you face a similar scene, watching down at you will be heaven's queen. She will watch as the thirst begins to beam. Make her smile by showing how your face gleams. At the enemy charge as arrows to you rain. Show who you are, for that day is yours to claim. With their very own blood, their faces I shall stain. Just tell me I'll die before my master Hussein. Of protection of the pure, to you I pass the reins. Like I stood by Muhammad, you'll stand by Hussein. From approaching my master, they shall all abstain. Just tell me I'll die before my master Hussein. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Membership is now due for renewal. Please settle your dues at either desk. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the 12th of September, corresponding to the third night of Muharram, Ladies Majlis program by Zakira Anjum Riyaz Muqaddam of Mumbai will begin at 10:30 am. In the evening, the main program will begin at 7:37 with Maghribain Jamaat Namaz, Marsha, and at 8:30 p.m. Majlis by Syed Muhammad Rizvi of Toronto, ending with Matam and Ziyarah. Please note there will be a parallel children's Majlis in the Imam Zaman alayhi salam hall for ages 4 to 10 years. The first Ashra of Muharram has the highest attendance compared to any other part of the year. For this reason, we request you for your own safety and comfort to cooperate with the volunteers and pay attention to the following guidelines. Park your cars responsibly and orderly as not to inconvenience our neighbors and the surrounding area. Ensure your children are with you and inside at all times to avoid any unwarranted incidents. Keep your footwear in the shoe racks provided, switch off or silence your mobile phones, keep the wall spaces for the elders and try to move as far as possible. Throw rubbish, cups or wrappers in the bin provided, please do not take it outside. All are strictly advised to disperse after the program and not congregate around the center. Please do not wait inside or main the near entrance. Coordinate with your family and leave as soon as possible. Ensure cleanliness, especially on the roads. We sincerely request your support and cooperation in ensuring the smooth running of the programs by abiding to the above guidelines. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept and be pleased with our actions during this holy night. Dua Shifa is requested for all the Mareed, including Brother Munawar Watansi, who is in ICU, Sister Sakina Shah, and Kul Mu'mineen who are either unwell or suffering tonight, please. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amman yujibu al-mudhtarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu as-su'. Amman yujibu al-mudhtarra idha da'ah. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب صلى على محمد وآل محمد. Surah Fatiha is requested for the marhumeens who have departed this world. Surah Al-Mubarak Al-Fatih. Can we please invite our guest speaker, Syed Muhammad Rizvi of Toronto, to recite the Majlis? Can we please welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Could I ask all the brothers to move as close to the front as possible to avoid disturbance during the Majlis? Can we please invite Syed with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون. الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وغاصب حقوقهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: إن أريد إلا الإصلاح ما استطعت وما توفيقي إلا بالله عليه توكلت وإليه أنيب. صلوات. I would like to begin by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity to observe the Azaa of Sayyid al-Shuhada once again during this month of Muharram. It's also a pleasure to see the Hyderi community. The last time I was here for Muharram was actually in the year 2000. So this is a meeting 17 years after that. I didn't have any gray hairs those days. Many of you were not born, but inshallah, we are all here to commemorate the Azaa of Sayyid al-Shuhada because this is a very important institution for us. I would say it is the single most powerful means of renewing our faith, reminding us of our core values of Islam, as well as reforming us to become a better human being, a better Muslim, and a better Shia of Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. This is a blessing that we have to cherish. All other programs that we have in Islamic centers, we need to advertise, ask people to show up so that we can have a meaningful, audience. But when it comes to Azaa of Sayyid al-Shuhada, organizers don't have to worry about whether people will come or not. It is the people who find out when is the Majlis starting, what are the timings. And this is where you have to realize that this is a very unique method of teaching ourselves about Islam, renewing our faith, like any other program that we can have. It is not because of the speaker, it is not because of the organizers, it is not because of the location, it is everything to do with the love of Hussein bin Ali in our hearts. And this is actually a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where we see Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam narrates that once Hussein, still very young, of course, during the days of the Prophet, was coming to his grandfather. Rasulullah welcomed him and made him sit on his lap. And then Rasulullah said something which is for each one of us, where he says, إِنَّ لِقَتْلِ الْحُسَيْنِ حَرَارَةً فِي قُلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. That verily, when it comes to the martyrdom of Hussein bin Ali, there is a warmth for it in the hearts of the believers, لَا تَبْرُدُوا عَبَدًا, which will never go cold. It is that hararat, that warmth, which is there in our hearts, and we have to cherish that, and we have to make sure that we take maximum benefit of these days of Azaa, where we can reflect on our own state and understand the mission and the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and become better Shia of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat. Since this is the first speech in the series of the Majalis that we will have, I would like to actually present the conceptual idea of the theme on which I am going to talk. The details will inshallah start from tomorrow night. But tonight I would like to raise this question, and it is in the answer that I will give, you will find that this theme that I have selected. And the question is, what is the purpose of Imam Hussein alayhi salam? What was his purpose? why he went to the extent of sacrificing everything which was near and dear to him. This is a question which has been asked in different ways for so many centuries by theologians and philosophers, as well as by historians and those who are into the field of social science. But tonight what I would like to do, and what I consider to be the most authentic and clear statement of Imam Hussein alayhi salam's mission, can be seen actually in his written will. Imam, before he left Medina, he actually wrote down a will, which is very different from the will that we write down. Normally we talk about our family members, who are the heirs, what do we want our property to be, distributed in which way. We talk about where we are supposed to be buried, for example. We talk about the wajibat which needs to yet be fulfilled after we have passed away. But this wasiyyat, or will of Imam Hussein alayhi salam that he wrote before he left Medina, was not a will of that normal kind. This was actually a mission statement of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, where he wanted to leave that in written form to explain why he is opposing Yazid bin Muawiyah. And it's a short will, but very powerful, and I wanted to share with you the entire will before I go into explanation of that, where Hussein ibn Ali says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, هذا ما أوصى به الحسين بن علي بن أبي طالب إلى أخيه محمد المعروف بابن الحنفية. He says, this is the wasiyyat, this is the will that Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib is making, and giving it to Muhammad, who is known as Ibn Hanafiya, his stepbrother. And then he begins the preamble of his actual purpose of writing this will with a statement of his faith. And this is very normal, where he begins by saying, أن الحسين يشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. Everybody understands, you don't need translation for that. وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات عليه وسلم. جاء بالحق من عند الحق. He testifies to the nubuwwat of his grandfather, that he was the abd and rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He came with the haqq from the haqq. And then he comes to the issue after tawheed and nubuwwat, he comes to qiyamat, وَأَنَّ الْجَنَّةَ وَالنَّارَ حَقٌّ وَأَنَّ السَّاعَةَ آتِيَةٌ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْعَثُ مَنْ فِي الْقُبُورِ. He says Jannah and Jahannam are the truth, and the hour is going to happen where the dunya will come to the end, and people will be raised back, they will be resurrected from the graves. Then he explains why I am taking the stand against Yazid bin Muawiyah. And he divides that into 4 parts. I'll just give you the translation before I go to explanation of that. Number 1, وَعَنِّي لَمْ أَخْرُجْ عَشِرًا وَلَا بَطِرًا وَلَا مُفْسِدًا وَلَا ظَالِمًا. The very first statement he says, I have not risen against Yazid in order to seek adventure. No, that is not my purpose. Nor am I doing this out of ego or arrogance. Nor do I want to create disorder and chaos in the society. Nor am I being unfair and unjust to anyone. And after that negation, he comes to affirmation. وَإِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي. I have risen against Yazid only for one purpose, and that is to seek reformation of the community of my grandfather. How is he going to do it? The religious basis for that, أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَأْمُرُ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَأَنْهِيَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. In doing this movement of reformation, I would like to do Amr bil Ma'ruf, call people towards good and prevent them from evil. And in doing this is nothing new. He says, وَعَسِيرَ بِسِيرَةِ جَدِّي وَعَبِي عَلِي بِنْ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. What I'm doing is nothing new. It's not an innovation or bid'ah. I'm continuing the path of my grandfather and my father Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat. Ends by saying, whoever accepts my statement, they will be with me, and those who reject this, I will bear patience and leave things to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa huwa khairul hakimin. And this is where, he actually asked Muhammad Hanafiya to stay back in Medina so that somebody would be there from the family who can, send him reports about what's going on behind. Let us look at these 4 lines that Hussein ibn Ali has written in explaining his mission. And with this written document from Hussein ibn Ali, we don't need to go anywhere else. Nor to an alim or a mujtahid or a philosopher or a historian, no. This is from Hussein ibn Ali, and this is a document which is authentic, accepted by our ulama. Look at the first part. The first statement actually is negation. Lam akhruj. I have not risen against Yazid for these reasons. Hussein ibn Ali knew Muawiyah. He knew that Muawiyah has established a propaganda, department where they have tarnished the image of Ali ibn Abi Talib. They take something which is right and, present it as wrong. To the extent that when Amir al-Mu'mineen is injured in the masjid and he is killed because of that attack, when the news reaches to Sham, when people heard that Ali was killed in a masjid, they were surprised to hear that. Because in their mind, masjid and Ali could not be together. This was the level of misinformation generated by Muawiyah and his government. Hussein ibn Ali knew that the same government is still there, the same system is still there, and therefore he preactively, basically takes this stand to negate all ulterior motives which will be ascribed to him. When he says, "Lam akhruj ashiran," I'm not doing this for seeking adventure. Somebody who puts himself into risk would not take his own women and children in that process. Hussein goes with those who are very near and dear to him. Wala batiran. He says, I don't need to be arrogant. Allah has, raised me in the family who are the afdal of alameen. Inna Allah astafa Adama wa Nuhan wa ala Ibrahim and ala Imran ala al-alameen. We have the fazila. There is no issue for me to do something, out of arrogance and pride. Wala mufsidan. I don't want to create disorder in the society. And this is where you will see every step that Hussein ibn Ali took, he did not allow historians ever to say that hostilities and violence were started by Hussein. Even the enemies never ever said that he initiated, problems in the society. Wala zaliman. He says, even in doing this, opposing Yazid, I'm not being unjust to him or to anyone else. According to our belief, the Ma'soom Imam, the Rasul, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they never do zulm. If Allah is punishing someone, it is because of His justice. And if He is forgiving someone, it is because of His lutf and karam and His grace. So there is no zulm there, neither on the level of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor Rasul, nor the Imam. And so after negation of all ulterior motives, this is where Imam now comes to the second part of the statement, which is affirmation. Very much with kalima, la ilah, and then you come to illallah. Salawat padhna ek baar aur. إنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي. I indeed have risen only for one purpose. And that is to reform or to bring about reformation in the ummah of my grandfather. when you look at these two parts of his will, first negation and then affirmation, this has been repeated also in his speech which he gave in Mecca. A very brief statement where he actually addresses Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while talking to the people, where he says, Allahumma innaka ta'lam annahu lam yakun ma kana minna tanafusan fi sultan. Wallahi, you know my motivations. What I'm doing is not because I'm seeking government and power. وَلَا إِلْتِمَاسًا فِي فُصُولِ الْحُطَامِ. And I'm not seeking wealth, neither power nor wealth. ولكن لنري معالم من دينك ونظهر الإصلاح في بلادك, so that the symbols of deen will become clear. Number one. And so that reformation and good can spread in the Muslim world. وَيَعْمَرُ الْمَظْلُومِ مِنْ عِبَادِكَ. And those who are oppressed will find themselves in a peaceful environment. وَيُعْمَلُ بِفَرَائِضِكَ وَسُنَّتِكَ وَأَحْكَامِكَ. And so that your duties that you imposed on the Ummah and the Sunnah and the Ahkam which have come down, they can be implemented in the society. When we look at this issue of, the purpose of Hussein ibn Ali, when he says, reforming the Ummah, this is the point of reflection for us. Islah, this is Arabic, Farsi, Urdu, and probably even Gujarati is the same term, which means reformation. It means something which has moved away from its original state. There is need to bring it back to the original. Something which has become deformed now, which is the opposite of Islam. The question that we have to really think about is, what is to be reformed? This is an ongoing issue. This is a need for every era, every generation, every century. But the question is, what is to be reformed? When we talk about the Reformation movement that Hussein ibn Ali started, does it mean to reform Islam, the deen, the way Christians have done? Look at the issue of same-sex marriage, and I'm not getting into controversies here. There was a time where the Bible said, and even it says now, it is a sin. Gradually, not only the legislations in the Western world have moved in the other direction, even the churches are gradually now saying that's fine. Although among the, your church here, the Anglican, the Church of England, the Anglican Church around the world, there is a dispute. All the leaders of Anglican Church in Africa, Middle East, and Asia are still against it because they say the Bible says it's a sin. But those in Europe and North America, they say no. Everyone is the image of God. And so the question is, when Hussein ibn Ali says that I would like to bring about reformation, what is he talking about? Is he asking us that you also in your own time, you reform the deen, Islam? Or is the issue of reforming the Muslims who have deviated from the path of Islam and the teachings and values of Islam? What is the answer from Hussein ibn Ali? He says, إِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي. He says, I have risen in order to seek reformation in what? In the Ummah of my grandfather. The Ummah has deviated from the right path. There is a need to reform them, to bring them back to the right path. He doesn't say, لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي دِينِ جَدِّي. He doesn't write that I have risen in order to reform the religion of my grandfather. This is where we have to realize that the fundamentals of the faith and the core values have been established. The day when Ghadir happened, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very clear. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. I don't even have to translate that ayat. You just celebrated Ghadir. Deen is kamil, complete. Atamamtu alaykum ni'mati. The blessing of guidance has now been completed. Tamam. وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. And Allah says, now I am pleased with Islam as a religion for you. And so when we talk about the fundamentals of our faith, they are there. No Nabi is going to come after that. No divine revelation is going to come after the Quran. The fundamentals are there. They become the standard by which everything else has to be evaluated. The core values will not change. The attitude and the lifestyles of the people will change. And we are not against change. We are not against reform. But the issue is that you have to see, especially when our lifestyle changes because of our, geographical situation, level of technology. These are all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 100 years ago, I couldn't, with my, lower voice, my voice wouldn't even reach to the end there. Now we have all this. So we are not against innovation and technology and this and that. The issue is that whatever happens as far as our lifestyle is concerned, if it is within the overall value of Islam, then that change will be acceptable. But if the change is not in line with the overall values of Islam, then it has to be either modified or it has to be rejected. And that is where the room for reformation comes in, even now during our own time. Salawat. Islam basically, when we talk about Islah and Reformation, this is basically correcting the compass of the Ummah. Whenever the Ummah moves away slightly to the right or the left, the community has to be brought back to the path. It is not Islam which is going to change according to the choice of the people. If it was left to the choice of the people, there will be no room for namaz in Islam. Even the choice of Rasulullah as a Nabi wouldn't be there. There is an ayat of Quran where the mushrikeen of Makkah used to say, if Allah wanted to send a Nabi, why did He choose him? Why Muhammad bin Abdullah? Why not one of the two great personalities that we have in Makkah and Taif? So Islam is not really a matter of people's choice. This is not a parliament we can say, okay, yesterday something was haram, we will make it halal today. Or today it was just jaiz, we'll make it wajib. No. And inshallah, we will talk about this more, and I'll come to the examples where reform is required in our community, and the examples where the reform movement is going in the wrong direction in our community. So we know that yes, we have to change. That is what it means, Islam. When we have azadari, this is so that we become better. In order to become better, there is a need for reform. But we have to be very careful whether the reform is coming from the upper level of the human dimension or the lower levels of the human dimension. Is it coming from the malakuti level or from haywani level? Otherwise, we will just become like Christians and nothing else, where the name would be there, but the soul would be lost. Salawat. And Hussein ibn Ali even then comes to the third part of the will, where he wants to explain that what I'm doing, there is a religious basis for it. There is a mechanism in the faith by itself. And so I'm not really going and doing something new. This is where he says, أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَأْمُرَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَأَنْهِيَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. That when I'm talking about Islah of the Ummah, reforming the Ummah, what I'm actually doing is I am bidding people towards goodness. and forbidding the people from evilness. I am commanding what is right and forbidding what is wrong. And this issue of al-amr bil ma'roof and nahy al-munkar, you hear about it from childhood. But these are the two most important social principles in Islam. A society cannot maintain its Islamic identity if amr bil ma'roof and nahy al-munkar is not exercised. In Quran, you'll see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He lists the good deeds. Normally He starts with namaz, and then zakat, and then other things. Worship and charity. Worship Allah and be charitable towards those who are in need. But there is one ayat in Quran, and that is more on an individual level. But there is one ayat in Surah Tawbah, Surah number 9, ayat 72, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about a community, not about individual mu'min and mu'minah. He talks about a community. And when He describes the community, then you will see that the listing of the good deeds, the order has been changed. Doesn't start with namaz and zakat. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Believing men and women are wali of one another. They are tied with this brotherhood of the faith. What is the demand of that wilayat, that friendship in faith? The very first thing Allah says, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْحَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. As a community, as brothers and sisters in faith, our first duty is to encourage one another to do ma'roof and good, and to prevent one another, discourage one another from munkar and forbidden things. And then He says, وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةِ. Unlike all other times when salat and zakat comes first, worship and charity, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about amr bil ma'roof and nahy al munkar. Then He talks about salat and zakat. Wa rasuluhu. In short, as a believing community, it is a community which obeys Allah and His Messenger. أُولَٰئِكَ سَيَرْحَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shower His mercy on them because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is powerful and wise. Salawat padhne ek baar. In the following ayat, He says, if as a believing community, when they do amr bil ma'roof and nahy al munkar, what is the promise of Allah there? وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. His promise to the believers is جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِ مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ. There will be rivers flowing under the gardens that they will get. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. They will be in it forever. And there will be وَمَسَاكِنَ طَيِّبَةٍ فِي جَنَّاتِ عَدْنٍ. Good dwellings. And the most important thing, وَرِضْوَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرٌ. And the greatest of reward in the akhirah is not the stream of milk and honey. It is the ridwan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah is razi and pleased with us, that is the highest bliss that we can get in the akhirah. وَهُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. And this is a great achievement. And so my brothers and sisters realize, when we talk about amr bil ma'roof and nahy al munkar, this is not only for the ulama, it is not only for the madrasa teachers, it is not only for the parents, it is for everyone who are tied to one another by that chain of iman. Salawat padhne ek baar. When we talk about amr bil ma'roof and nahy al munkar, the words ma'roof and munkar, encouraging people to come towards ma'roof, which means good. discouraging people from munkar, which means forbidden. It means ma'ruf and munkar. You had to suppose here that ma'ruf and munkar is going to be fixed. It's not going to change. It's not that, 50 years ago, this was illegal, marriage, for example, and now the definition changes. What was munkar 50 years ago now becomes ma'ruf. The problem with the modern society is that, when they are faced with problems, instead of dealing with it, they say, okay, let's legalize it. That's the easiest way out. Canada last year legalized marijuana, and they are implementing it now. There's a big debate about it. And this is where you realize that, things are bad, they know. They can't handle it. Okay, make it legal. At least we get some, revenue from it, from the tax. Islam, when it talks about amr bil ma'ruf and nahy al munkar, ma'ruf and munkar are already there. And it is the community which has to go back to the ma'ruf, away from munkar. And this, inshallah, we will talk about it. This was just a conceptual ground that I'm preparing, and we'll talk about the examples more about it. Salawat pranik barar. The final statement that Hussein ibn Ali has, the fourth sentence, where he's explaining his purpose, why he has risen against Yazid, is to say that what I'm doing is actually not a bid'ah. It is not an innovation. What I'm doing is actually the path of my grandfather and my father. وَأَسِيرُ بِسِيرَةِ جَدِّي وَعَبِي عَلِي بِنْ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. He wanted to make sure about it. And inshallah, we'll have some more examples, even from the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen, where we will see that when Hussein ibn Ali traces his tradition back to Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen, he actually is talking about the examples of Ali. One of the very early khutbahs that Ali gave after he was accepted as a leader by the Ummah, they came to him 24 years after the day of Ghadir, exactly by the day. The Ummah did bay'at at the hand of Ali on 18th of Zil-Hijjah, but 24 years after Ghadir. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he gave his khutbah, he says to them that I don't want power. But now that you are actually forcing me to become your leader, you have to realize I have my own mandate. You haven't given me a mandate. I have chartered my own mandate of what I'm going to do. Just one sentence from that khutbah, and we'll continue this later on in another examples, where he says, إِنِّي حَامِلُكُمْ عَلَى مَنْهَجِ نَبِيِّكُمْ. Now that you accept me as your leader, I am actually going to carry you, حَامِلُكُمْ حَمْل. I am going to carry you عَلَى مَنْهَجِ نَبِيِّكُمْ, on the path of your Nabi. In 24 years, the Ummah had moved away from the manhaj of Rasulullah. So many examples. Whether it is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in namaz, or many other things. In Sahih Bukhari, there are two examples, two narrations. That when Amir al-Mu'mineen for the first time led namaz as a Khalifa, some of his companions has tears of joy in their eyes. And they asked him, what happened? They said, he reminded us of the salat of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Just think about it. Something done by Rasulullah thousands of times publicly. If that was not maintained, In 24 years, the changes come in. You know, this is where we talk about reform. And this is where Amir al-Mu'minin started this reformative movement. And that is where he had a lot of opposition, especially on social issues that we will be, inshallah, talking about that also. And it's very interesting that when Hussein ibn Ali, in Mecca, when he gave his speech, and where he addresses Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in between, where he says, "Oh Allah, I have not done this in order to seek power or wealth and money. Rather, I have done this so that the symbols of your religion can be very obvious and clear for the people." Those words of Hussein ibn Ali actually are echo of the words of his great father. Amir al-Mu'minin also says, when he started this reformative movement during his own time, where he says, "Allahumma innaka ta'lam annahu lam yakun minni munafasatan fi sultan." Very similar to the words. Hussein said, "Tanasufan fi sultan." Ali says, "Munafasatan fi sultan." Oh Allah, you know that I have not done this because I want power. وَلَا iltimas fudul al-hutam. And I'm not looking for, gathering wealth. وَلَكِنْ أَرُدَّ الْمَعَالِمَ مِنْ دِينِكَ. So that I may bring back the symbols of your religion. وَعُظْهِرُ الصَّلَاةِ فِي بِلَادِكَ. And so that they can be goodness in the society. فَيَعْمَرُ الْمَظْلُمِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكَ. So those who are oppressed will live in peace. وَتُقَامُ الْمُعَطَّلَ مِنْ حُدُودِكَ. And the penal code of your Sharia, which had been suspended by those who were before, that will be re-implemented now. And this is what Amir al-Mu'minin mentioned at that time. And this is where Hussein means when he says, وَعَسِيرُ بِسِيرَةِ جَدِّي وَعَبِي عَلِي بِنْ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. That what I'm doing is nothing new. It's actually continuing the same path, which was the path of my grandfather and the path of my father, Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat. What could be the biggest of fasad and, moving away from the right path? That a person like Yazid bin Muawiyah demands bay'at from Hussein ibn Ali wa Fatima. You don't need any other reason, to start an Islah or a reformative movement. Because if the Ummah in 50 years had reached to a point that the grandson of Rasulullah, who was alive during the days of Rasulullah, whom the Ummah and the companions saw how he treats, he is not only a grandson, he is actually respecting them in different ways. Tathir is there. The event of Mubahala is there. There are times where peace treaty is signed between the Prophet and other tribes. And who is the witness there? Hassan and Hussein. They are not even baligh. The Sharia laws, you need somebody who has to be baligh. But Rasulullah is showing, don't compare them to your standard. They are on a different level. Hussein comes on the shoulder of Rasulullah in sajda. Rasulullah, prolongs the sajda. We have this whole issue of concentration in namaz. Where was the concentration of Rasulullah at that time? On his tongue he was saying, Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Or maybe saying, Subhana Rabbi al-Ala wa bihamdi. In his heart he was saying, is Hussein still there or not? But nobody says that namaz was batil. Nobody says Rasulullah had to do that namaz again. Different ways that Rasulullah showed to the Ummah that Hussein ibn Ali is not only my grandson, he is somebody very important even in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so when Muawiyah died, one of the first executive orders that Yazid bin Muawiyah signed, very similar to what we see, Trump showing all the time with his signatures there. The first executive order that he signed was in the name of Walid bin Utbah bin Abi Sufyan, his first cousin, who was the governor of Medina at that time. And the official, basically, letter just mentioned the praise of Muawiyah and that he has died, and announcing that now I am the Khalifa. But with that letter, there was another note, which was given to the messenger, that this is also equally important, and give it to Walid. And that was the note in which Yazid had written to Walid, that I would like you to demand from Hussein bin Ali and Abdullah bin Umar and Abdullah bin Zubayr to do bay'at for me. And if they refuse to do bay'at on your hand for me, then you send their heads to me. All these Wahhabis who say, the main culprit was Ibn Ziyad, nothing to do with his Yazid. What is this? The first order to kill Hussein ibn Ali is coming from Yazid himself. And once this messenger reached to Medina, went to Walid, gave him the message. Walid called the elder of Banu Umayyah in the town, Marwan bin Hakam, and basically consulted him what to do. And after seeking his advice, this is where he sent a messenger. This is the evening time now, after Maghrib. Send a young, messenger to the masjid to call all these three people. And you hear about it quite a lot, but I would like to come to a point. Abdullah bin Umar and Abdullah bin Zubayr refused to go. Hussein ibn Ali told the messenger, you go back, say to your master, I'm coming. But Hussein didn't go directly to Walid's home. He told the other people there in masjid that it must be a very serious issue, otherwise he wouldn't call me at this late night time. Imam goes to home, gathers the young people from Banu Hashim, and he instructs them. This is the very important point, that Hussein never ever initiated violence. He said, you go with your swords, but you will stay outside. You are not allowed to come in unless you hear my voice has been raised. This will be a signal that my life is in danger. At that time you can come in. And Hussein ibn Ali, when he went, Walid bin Utbah read the letter and also said that this is the instruction I have. Hussein ibn Ali, right in the beginning, wanted to be peaceful. Even in his response, he says, Walid, a person like me does not pledge allegiance, doesn't do bay'at to anyone in secrecy. Why don't we meet tomorrow publicly in Masjid al-Nabi? When you ask everyone to do bay'at, then I'll give you my answer. He didn't say yes. He says, let's have this discussion in public, not in private, in the privacy of your home. Walid bin Utbah initially accepted that. He said, well, your proposal is very wise. But there was a mal'oon sitting there, Marwan. Marwan bin Hakam turns to Walid and he says, if you let him go now, you will not get the bayat. And I ask you to either force him to pledge bayat now or kill him now. Because that is the instructions given to you. This is where Hussein ibn Ali realized things are getting out of hand. And there is no need anymore to delay the response for next day. And now he, started talking with a raised voice. And this is where he utters the powerful words which are there in history, where he says, Walid, inna ahlu baytin nubuwwa, wa ma'dan al-risala, wa mukhtalaf al-malaika, bina fatah Allah, wa bina khatam. Yazid, you are asking me, Walid, you are asking me to do bay'at to Yazid? Do not you know my background? I am from the family of prophethood. I come from that main source of risalat and messengership of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My house is the house where malaika used to come down and ascend from there. All things started with us, and the fazilat ended with us. This is my background. The person whom you are asking me that I should submit to him, Yazid rajulun fasiq. Number one, he is a sinful person. Sharibul khamr. He drinks. Mu'linun bil fisq. Publicly commits sins. There is fasiq and there is mu'linun bil fisq. Fasiq means somebody who commits a sin. Could be even maybe in private. Mu'linun bil fisq, somebody who does it openly. Qatilun nafs al muharrama. Yazid is somebody who is actually guilty of killing innocent people. And therefore, O Walid, I am giving you a standard which is not only for me, for the last day of this dunya. Mithli la yubayi' mithluh. A person like me will never do bay'at to a person like Yazid. Salawat. Hussein's voice was raised. And this is where the youths and the young members of Banu Hashim who were waiting out, they basically took out their swords. Those who know me, I'm not personally very comfortable in Masaib in English, but I've been forced sometimes to do it, and I'll do it. And inshallah, we'll be able to do it in the right way. Salawat. Hussein's voice was raised. These young people from Banu Hashim got the signal, took out their swords, just marched in. And Hussein ibn Ali, under the shadow of their swords, came out protected by them. Azadar of Hussein, sometimes things happen to us. We only come to remember those moments later on, when we find ourselves in difficulty. The way I look at the history of Karbala, there is no narration, but I'm looking at human situation. That Hussein ibn Ali must have remembered that evening, on the afternoon of Ashura, when he stood there all alone in Karbala, and when he sounded this call, Hal min Nasirin yansuruna, wa hal min mughisin yughisuna, is there anyone who can help us? Is there anyone who can come to our rescue? Not only that, he adds there, is there anyone who can come and help the haram of Rasulullah, my women and children? I'm sure at that time Hussein ibn Ali must have remembered that moment. That there I did not even call you openly. I just raised my voice and you came out. You came in to help me at that time. Where are my young ones? We shouldn't be surprised if those body of shuhada were basically responded in a way that if Allah had given us the permission to come, we would have come and helped you. Imam Hussein alayhi salam goes back to his home. asked the family, and the entire family was ready there. And this is the beauty of the Islah, the movement of Hussein ibn Ali, that he is not all alone. His entire Banu Hashim family is with him and supporting him in this cause. They leave Medina, a tragedy. Medina is Medina of Rasul, but the grandson of Rasul can no more find it to be a secure place for himself. So where does he go? He seeks refuge in the city of Mecca. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ دَخَلَهُ, whoever goes in there, he is at peace. Nobody can touch them. Even a Muslim government cannot even go and arrest a criminal in Masjid al-Haram because of the sacredness. But that sacredness embodiment in the person of Hussein ibn Ali and in the place known as Kaaba was also shattered. When Hussein came to know that Yazid has sent assassins in form of pilgrims who have instructions to kill Hussein even if they find him doing tawaf of the Kaaba. This was the level of fasad and inhitat and the downfall of the Ummah, and there was a need for reformation there. And so what does Hussein do? He wanted to respect the sanctity of the haram of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he changes his niyat from Hajj to Umrah. On the 8th of Zul-Hijjah, the Hujjaj normally go to Mina, tent there, spend the night there. On the 9th, they will go to Arafat. While all the caravans were moving towards Mina, there was one caravan already facing towards Iraq. And this is where, Muhammad Hanafiya, who came to know about the intention of Imam to leave Mecca, at that time, he came and he talks to the Imam, tries to pursue, insist on him that not to go to Kufa. He says, these people are not reliable. If you have to go to Yemen. They are more loyal people towards our family and to our father. But Hussein ibn Ali uttered the words where he says that he couldn't explain to Muhammad Hanafiya what was the main purpose and what was the result that he will attain by Shahadat. He just says one thing, I saw my grandfather in the dream. And he said that, oh Hussein, go. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see you martyred for the sake of Islam. That is the time Muhammad Hanafiya looks at the caravan, he says, Hussein, he says, oh brother, the person who is going with that intention doesn't take his women and children. Allow me to take them back to Medina. And this is where Hussein didn't know how to explain to Muhammad Hanafiya at that time in history that if I'm killed alone in Karbala, my message will be buried. It will take a long time for it to reach to the people. I need these women and children with me. They will be the one who will carry on my message to the whole world, including to Sham. And so he only just narrated that part of the dream where he says that, but my grandfather also said that Allah wants to see them as prisoners for the sake of Islam. And this is where Imam lives, Mecca. It was on the 2nd of Muharram that Imam reached to Karbala. And when he asked for the name of the place, when he was told this is Karbala, he says, A'udhu billahi min karb wa bala. Karb means when you are in agony. Bala is suffering. Interesting, the name of the place is a place, Karb and Bala. Imam told his families, and companions to settle down. He says, this is the place where we'll be killed. This is where we will be buried. But the important point is that Hussein ibn Ali was giving us examples of what it means, of the virtues that he exemplifies. The most important thing he did was he asked about the ownership of that land. Because Hussein ibn Ali didn't want to be buried in a land which didn't belong to him. This issue of land being mubah is a very important issue. When he was told about Banu Asad, he called them. And he actually, asked them to sell the land, which is, according to some historians, was actually 4 square mile area that Hussein ibn Ali bought, which is now Karbala, and where he has been buried, and his shrine is there. And he actually paid 60,000 dirham for that. Then he asked something, Hazrat Hussein ibn Ali didn't forget us at that moment. He told Bani Asad that, we will be killed here, and we will be buried here. I bought this land so that, I would like to be buried in my own land. But I'm giving the usage and control of this land back to you, although I have bought it from you. But there are 2 conditions. Whenever those who love me, my Zawar, when they come, you will guide them to my grave. Imam did this for us even centuries before that. And then he says something else, and I would like you to host them for 3 days, because they are my guest. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, who was so great that he remembered us at that time. And this is where we have to realize the greatness of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and continue this mission of Aza and the ziyarat that we see. The way it has become such a powerful, message for the world, the way people go on the day of Ashura and Arba'een. It is not just a culture. It is not only a tradition. That is actually the expectation that Hussein had, that he made this arrangement at that time for the Zawar to be there for 3 days. Azadana Hussein, आज बहुत ही मुख्तसर हम इस मजलिस को ख़त्म करना चाहेंगे कि अक्सर बुज़ुर्गों से इस मौके में मसाइब में ये सुना है कि इमाम ने जब इस ज़मीन को बनु असद से ख़रीदा है और जितने वहाँ आए थे बनु असद के अफराद, उस वक्त इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम ने उनसे ख़िताब किया है। और ये ख़िताब जो है अक़ल से दूर की बात नहीं है, लिहाजा हमारे लिए इसको एक्सेप्ट करने में इतनी तकलीफ़ नहीं है। इमाम बनु असद के मर्दों से कहते हैं कि ऐ बनु असद के मर्द, यजीदी लश्कर वाले हमें कत्ल तो कर देंगे, अपने मकतूल को वो दफन करेंगे, हमारे लाशों को छोड़ देंगे, लिहाजा तुम जो है हिम्मत करके आना और हमें दफन कर देना। नवासे रसूल अपने दफन के लिए भी उम्मत से हाथ फैला रहा है, और उसके बाद फिर ख़वातीन की तरफ मुखातब होते हैं कि ऐ बनु असद की औरतें, अगर तुम्हारे मर्दों में ये हिम्मत न हो तो अपनी चादर को संभाल के आना और हमारे लाशों को दफन कर देना। आखिर में नवासे रसूल उस लेवल पर आते हैं कि बनु असद के बच्चों से कहते हैं कि अगर तुम्हारे माँ बाप में ये हिम्मत न हो तो ऐ बनु असद के बच्चे, तुम खेलते हुए ज़मीन करबला तक आ जाना और अपने नन्हे हाथों में मिट्टी लेके हमारे लाश पर डाल देना। अला लानतुल्लाहि अलल कौमिज़ ज़ालिमीन सयअलमुल लज़ीना ज़लमू अय्य मुनक़लिबिन यनक़लिबून। खुदावंद इस क़रीबात कबूल फरमा, हमारे गुनाहों को बख्श दे, हमारे तौफ़ीक़ात में इज़ाफ़ा फरमा। खुदावंद इमाम के ज़ुहूर में ताजिल फरमा। रब्बना तक़ब्बल मिन्ना इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम।
या हुसैन, या हुसैन। Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. سر پیٹ کے
بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا
سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم
آیا علم عباس کا پرچم نظر جو آ گیا ہنس کر سکینہ نے کہا پانی کو لے کیا رہا ہے نہر سے اب مومنہ پیاس کم
آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا
علم عباس کا دریا پہ قبضہ کر کی پھر جلوں میں پانی کو لیا غازی کو پھر یاد آ گیا وعدہ تماسی جو کیا پھر دین رب ہونا علم
آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا
علم عباس کا زہرا کی دل ہی ہے دعا عکس علی عباس ہے وات ناسانان ہے اور بیبیوں کی آس ہے وہ بھی
پہ کرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا دل ٹوٹ گیا شبیر کا اس کو جب آیا یہ نظر گرتے ہوئے روتے ہوئے پکڑے ہوئے اپنی کمر چلائے مولا ہر قدم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے
حرم آیا علم
عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا
پرچم نظر جو آ گیا ہنس کر سکینہ نے کہا پانی کو لے کیا رہا ہے نہر سے اب مومنہ ہو جائے اب پیاس کم آیا علم عباس کا
سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم
آیا علم عباس
کا سورة مباركة الفاتحة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين سيد الوسيم إمام المتقين، السلام عليك يا سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا أم المؤمنين خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا أم البنين زوج أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيدي مولاي أبو الفضل العباس وأختيك زينب وأم كلثوم وبنتك سكينة، السلام عليك يا زين العابدين ومحمد الباقر وجعفر الصادق، السلام عليك يا موسى الكاظم وعلي الرضا ومحمد الجواد وعلي الهادي والحسن الأسكري، السلام عليك سيدي مولاي صاحب الأسر والزمان سيدي الأمان الأمان الأمان، السلام عليك يا حجة المنان عجل الله تعالى فرجه، سهل الله تعالى مخرج وظهورك وجعلنا من عوانه وأنصاره ومقوية سلطان والمستشهدين بين يديه ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك وعلى آبائه